everybody. I just wanted to share the chorus of a song that came to my head the other day. I was just kind of battling thoughts of just kind of like human thoughts, you know, things that you want to do. And it's just a fleeting thought, you know, and then this song came to my mind because it says, you know, bless those who curse you, pray for your enemies, things like that. And so I just wanted to sing this really quick and see if it encourages you. I hope it does. But it says, I pray for your healing. The circumstances would change. I pray that the fear inside would flee in Jesus' name. I pray that a breakthrough would happen today. I pray miracles over your life in Jesus' name, in Jesus' name. So pray for those who curse you. Bless those who curse you. Speak well of those who are not speaking well over you, because God sees all, God hears all, He knows all. And if you keep your heart right and His will be done, not yours, it's all going to work out. So I hope it encourages you today.
Hey y'all, excuse me, I'm a little hoarse, so excuse my voice, but I've been wanting to do this video, and I'm going to go ahead and get it because I think there are several people out there that need to hear it, and that's not gender specific, either men or women. You have to know that you are important. You matter, and nobody has the right to hurt you. So we're going to talk about Mica's Law. If you've been on the internet anywhere, I know you've heard of Mica Miller. If you haven't, we will be doing recaps. I'm going to leave some excellent content creators, links to their channels. They have been wonderful. You can watch their content. But Mica's Law is something that everybody needs to be aware of, and we need to push for our congressmen and legislatures to get this law passed in every city in the U.S., not just South Carolina. Stay with me. While Mica's attorney is holding this press conference, I'm going to record and play back the entirety of it. You can skip through it if you've already seen it, heard it, whatever. And the basic proposal is in the description of this video. So if you'd rather read it, that's fine. But I wanted you to really hear it from her attorney and from the person that's really speaking for Mica. So pay attention. Again, if you are going through any of this, simply get help, get out. The content information, the contact information is in the description of this video. Okay, guys, I'm going to say it again, and I'll probably say it again before this video is over. Fair use commentary, YouTube. This is for educational purposes only, and
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We know that you were coming today to go or attend the temporary hearing that was scheduled in family court today at 2:30. What has happened at this point is that the parties have reached a temporary agreement that was reduced to writing. It was put in the format of a court order. I just had it delivered to Judge Brahma Holmes, who is the judge that is assigned to this case. She has reviewed it. She found it to be appropriate, and she has signed it. So we went and have clocked and filed it with the court. It's not going to be available probably immediately because I literally just clocked and filed it. I'm sure that you're interested in knowing some of what it is about. First of all, I just want to tell you that in terms of a temporary hearing in family court, it is exactly what it says. It is an order that's issued by the judge on a temporary basis. And usually those are issued because there's an immediate need for some sort of relief, whether that be in other cases like temporary custody of children, making sure things are being paid and people are being supported and children being supported. In this case, obviously, there's not any children involved, but we still needed some temporary relief from the court. Whenever those hearings are held, there is no live testimony. There is only, it's a paper-driven hearing. In other words, the only thing that is presented is actual affidavits from the parties and then any supporting affidavits that would corroborate their story. We were prepared today to bring forward our client's affidavit as well as other supporting affidavits, as well as I'm sure that Mr. Miller and his attorney were too. However, under the circumstances, we've decided to enter into this agreement. One of the primary issues that we were seeking a court order from the judge is possession of Mica's personal property that's being held in the possession of Robeson County Sheriff's Department. As you've probably seen, the property that's with them is her personal cell phone, her purse, whatever's inside her purse, her vehicle, and whatever is in her vehicle. As far as anything beyond that, we're not sure what all is available there, but that was something that we wanted to make sure that we got in our custody. So as part of the consent order, the parties have agreed that would be Sierra Francis on behalf of her sister Mica. She stands in as the plaintiff for Mica at this point, and Mr. Miller have agreed that that property will be released from the Robeson County Sheriff's Department, or if they've put that property with somebody else, another investigative authority. When all authorities are finished with that property and have no longer any use for it, in other words, they've finished up whatever investigations or whatever they need that property for, then that property is going to be turned over to my office. It will not be released to Mr. Miller. And that does not mean that he doesn't have the right to see what's on a cell phone, which we're all interested in looking at. We also don't know what else may have been in the purse or the wallet or anything like that. His lawyer would be able to ask us about having access to it too. But right now, we are very satisfied and happy that he has been advised by his attorney to allow us to get that property in our possession. Other terms that were part of the agreement had to do with the vehicle that Mica was driving in North Carolina. That vehicle was actually also titled in another lady's name, Ms. Neosi, who is her godmother. So the parties have agreed that that vehicle will be released back to Miss Diana. It is her vehicle, and that's who should get it. We also agreed to respective restraining orders. These are family court restraining orders. They're pretty standard in most family court cases. For instance, in this particular case, there will be a mutual restraint that no party will dispose of any marital asset or do anything to devalue the asset. That is because what is part of the question here is what part of the marital estate belongs to Mica. And that's what we've got to get to next. So there's a restraining order that nobody can dissipate, sell, transfer any property that may be considered marital. In addition to that, there's also a similar restraining order that goes to the opposite in terms of debts and things like that. Whenever you're in a marriage, you may have the capability of having your spouse be a part of some debt. So there's a restraint on not incurring any further marital debt. And then, of course, there is a restraining order with regard to the protection of people. And that protection of people in this place goes both ways. It is a mutual restraining order. It is not a restraining order in the matter that a lot of people think of as in a criminal case. In a criminal case, whenever a restraining order is issued or a no contact order is issued on behalf of the victim, that means that the person that's being held against has no authority, cannot go around that person at all, period. They can get locked up on site for violating a conditions of a bond or a no contact order. In this particular situation, because we are in family court, it's a little different. If someone violates a restraining order in family court, you have to put together your evidence and you have to file a petition called a rule to show cause. You have to request the hearing. You also have to serve that person notice that you're making an allegation that they have violated a court order. And then you have your day in court, just like any other trial setting, where you get to present evidence and witnesses, and then you prove or you defend against whether you've violated a family court restraining order. So there's a lot more hoops to it. In this particular case, the restraining order basically is saying that the parties are mutually restrained from contacting the other, that all communications will be handled through the attorney's offices, so there's no need for any direct communication. We're also under a mutual restraint to not go into the area of a person's residence or where they work, and if they do, they are to return and leave if the other person is there. So whoever is there first gets to stay, and the other one needs to return, turn around and leave. Well, everyone is also restrained from making any, threatening, any physical harm or anything like that. By us entering into these restraining orders, please do not misconstrue. That does not mean specifically that someone has already done these types of behaviors. These are formalities that are put into place to protect all parties prior to anything like that happen. So we have not, let me make it clear, not had any problems with Mr. Miller trying to contact anybody or anybody trying to violate any of these terms. These are put into place as a formality on the front end for the protection of all parties involved. It also makes clear what the boundaries are, and then if anyone violates what's written in this court order, they'll have an opportunity to file a contempt action or a rule to show cause. No one goes to jail on site for violating this particular type of restraining order. There were other issues that were asked for, or relief that was asked for in our motion. We've decided to put those, what we call, hold them in abeyance. In other words, we've not given up the right to pursue whatever relief we were asking for, but we've all agreed that we will set that to the side for the moment and that we will come back to it at a later time. There's various reasons for doing that. One thing is to quickly, what we wanted to get was this order that we would have possession of Mica's personal property that's in the, currently in the possession of Robeson County Sheriff's Department. So at this time, one of the things that's very important for the family And after this, we would like to refrain from answering any questions. I want you to refrain from asking any questions from the family members. Any questions that you'll have to ask, please direct them to me and I will answer them for you. I'm going to let you know right now what we're going to talk about next is actually something that was brought to our attention. We have been so impressed and just so happy with people who have taken interest in this case for good causes, for people who have given us tips, who have sent us information and guided us through various avenues where we were looking for answers for certain things. And the family is very grateful for that. There is still a lot to be done here. There is something that's very important to this family today and is also important to this community, we have learned. And that is, there is a petition going around for what everyone's referring to as Mica's Law. And we want Mica's Law. This is a book that I put together with some information, some research, and things that I've done about Mica's Law. Would you be shocked to know that that very law has already been drafted and has been sitting in the General Assembly and the Judiciary Committee, both in the House of Representatives and the Senate? Don't get too happy. It's been sitting there since February the 2nd of 2020. Now I'm mad. Are you mad? I'm mad. So let me tell you the history. On February the 20th of 2020, what is referred to as the Coercive Control Bill was introduced to the House of Representatives. And I want to make sure I get the name right. I believe it was a former representative, McLean Toole, Toole. He presented that bill read it into the House of Representatives, and what happens after that is it's referred to what's called a Judiciary Committee. Now, the Judiciary Committee is tasked with looking at the bill, seeing what needs to be improved, what needs to be deleted. In other words, going through the process to make sure that it is properly codified and put in, and that it's ready for law. So the Coercive Control Bill, when it was introduced as House Bill number 5271. You can get online and track it. It goes nowhere. It goes to the Judiciary Committee, and it goes no further. Folks, that was 4 years ago. Then again, I said, on January the 12th of 2021, House Representative Robert J., also referred to as RJ, May, M-A-Y, the 3rd, he introduced the same bill, Coercive Control Bill. It was known as House Bill 3621. That was 3 years ago. When you do the research on the bill, guess what? It got referred to the Judiciary Committee. Now, normally when it gets there, there should be a subcommittee that is assigned to take that particular bill, to study it, to review it, to bring in whatever advisors or other professionals to help craft that bill and put it into, hopefully, its perfect form. It went to the Judiciary Committee in the House and never went any further. Can't find where it was assigned to anyone or anything. Now let's go back 2.5 years ago. December the 7th, 2021. Senator Katrina Fry Shelley, she introduced into the Senate the Coercive Control Bill. What do you think happened to it? Got referred to the Judiciary Committee. I need to tell you more about that particularly. And before I do so, let's make sure everyone understands what is the Coercive Control Bill. Coercive control refers to a pattern of behavior used by one person to dominate, manipulate, and intimidate another within an intimate or familial relationship. It encompasses acts such as assault, threats, humiliation, emotional abuse, and isolation. The goal is to harm, punish, and frighten your victim through fraudulent representations. It often refers to specific types of behavior. The Coercive Control Bill, Senate Bill 927, sitting in the Senate right now, offers a definition for coercive behavior. I have reviewed it. I agree. I am a lawyer, so I have some input on that. I agree with a lot of the things that are listed there, but I think they left out a few. The bill itself, whenever this is called status information. It's about the bill that's in the Senate called coercive control. Interestingly enough, after it was introduced and read in by Senator Shealy, if you look at other bills, what happens a lot of times, other senators or other representatives will jump on board. After it's read, you'll start seeing, when you look through the history of it, it'll say, this particular representative or this particular senator has asked for the bill, for them to be added as a sponsor to the bill. I don't see any other name on there for Senator Shealy. I think part of that has to do with how the public, as well as maybe our legislators, as well as our police department, are not educated to this form of abuse. It is real, people, and it is real damaging. Now, the interesting thing is back in 2019 and 2020, both of those years, I want to say it was WBTW, did a series on coercive control, emotional abuse, psychological warfare. Also running for re-election, I believe, at the time was Senator Luke Rankin, who, if you'll recall, pointed to his opponent and said he was involved in domestic violence. Seems to me that that was on his mind. Do you know who is in control and who the chairman is of the committee on the judiciary in the Senate? Luke Rankin. He has the ability to assign this bill to a subcommittee. He has the ability, if he wanted to put it on his agenda and walk it all the way through and make sure it gets done. This bill has been put in a folder in a dust-covered box in a back corner of the closet in the Judiciary Committee's office. I challenged them to go back there and find it and bring it out and assign a committee to it. Let's get this done. It is important. It is extremely important. Now, going back to the bill and how it defines controlling behavior. According to this proposed bill, and granted, this can change, and this bill does need some work, okay? But it's a start. It's some bones. It's something to deal with or to start with. Controlling behavior also, excuse me, I want to go to the next thing, which is types of behavior. This bill lays out types of behavior to look for. Now, I don't know if you saw or you remembered, but there was an interview that was done of me that said, hey, do you think, what do you think about the police and what they did? Well, here's what I think. I think the police didn't have anything to look to. They show up, they look for bruises. They look for black eyes. They look for scratches. They look for those types of things. And not seeing any, no crime here. They don't have a law to look to. Now, let me read you some of these behaviors that had this been a law at the time, the police officers would have had something to look to and to gauge it. The offense of coercive control of another person may include, but is not limited to, the following types of behavior. The very first one, isolating a person from their family and friends. In and of that self, that is not a crime. Next is depriving a person of their basic needs, food, shelter, clothing. The next one is monitoring a person's time. That's done a number of ways. Trackers, PIs, looking through their cell phones, looking at what they're doing online, driving by the job, who you talking to, where you at. D, subsection D, monitoring a person via online communication tools and using spyware. The interesting thing here is when people are married and the police are called to a domestic situation, usually what happens is they're told by the police officers, because this is what they get to go to, is, ma'am, sir, this sounds like a domestic issue. You need to go see a family court lawyer, or you need to go file something in family court. Well, the first thing that a coercive control abuser does is take away your money, take away your transportation, and your way of communication, and the friends that support you. How are you going to get there? How are you going to pay for it? Going on to the next one, E says taking control over aspects of a person's everyday life, including where the person may go, who the person may see, what a person may wear, and when a person may sleep. Next is depriving a person access to support services and medical services. Next is repeatedly insulting a person, including expressing the person's worthlessness. Enforcing rules and activities within the home that humiliate, that degrade, and dehumanize a person. Next is forcing a person to take part in criminal activity, including shoplifting and neglect or abuse of children. Children are often used as tools and weapons against the one that they want to dominate. They also encourage the person's self-blame and prevent disclosure to authorities. If you tell, this is what's going to happen to you. Next is financial abuse, including control of finances and only allowing a person a punitive allowance. You don't need to get your hair done. It looks fine. You don't need the other money for that. You don't need a new set of boots. You got plenty. Next is threats to hurt or kill. That's a lot. Threats to a child, threats to reveal or publish private information or extort the person or a member of the person's family in retaliation by legal or other means. Assault. Most people think of assault plus the battery, assault and battery. Assault is in the fear. Someone placing you in fear. Raising my hand, my fist to you. You're afraid I'm going to hit you. That's an assault. Usually what happens after an assault is the battery, where the hand or the fist comes down. Assault doesn't leave bruises, but it sure does on the psyche of the person who's experiencing it. After that is rape. Non-consensual, of course, that's what that means. Sex that both parties don't agree to. There's no pass when you're married. Preventing a person from having access to transport or from working. Taking their car away from them. They lose their job. They can't go to their mamas. They can't, go see their friend who's their confidant or the one that they can lean on. Can't take the children to the daycare to get to the job. Transportation impacts a lot of areas. Those are the types of behaviors that are listed by this bill. I have developed what's called Mica's list. Mica's list tracks what the bill says. And we put together things that she journaled, diaried, or put together to say happened. Please keep in mind that John Paul Miller has never been arrested for domestic violence. He's never been arrested for any harm against Mica. And everything that's put in here, quite frankly, is her words on paper. I have no reason not to believe her, but in fairness, you need to understand that what I'm about to read are things that Mica alleged in her writings and journal. I'm not going to go through the ones that we just went through. I'm going to go through the ones that I suggest and recommend that the Judiciary Committee consider asking the subcommittee that hopefully will be assigned very soon to consider. General emotional abuse. All of this together is emotional abuse, psychological abuse. It's psychological warfare. Ignoring requests and commands to stop, to leave me alone, go away. Cruelty to your pets. That one's used just like children. Destruction of property. Keying cars, slashing tires, whatever that may be. Destruction of the supporting evidence that the alleged victim had in mind to use against the perpetrator. Misuse of legal documents. Sending letters such as cease and desist, to threaten to file lawsuits or threaten to take other legal action is an improper use of the legal system. I don't know how many people would ever get a letter from a lawyer that would not be concerned or afraid. That's what we do when we send those letters. We threaten to sue you. Next, I would suggest is misuse of legal documents. Excuse me, I'm sorry I said that one. Misuse of law enforcement. Calling the police for no reason. Gaslighting, saying something happened that didn't happen. Telling somebody they can do something, then turn around and call the cops on them and tell them that you didn't say that. Whatever. That's such a waste of time of taxpayers' money. Now, law enforcement need to be doing other things than that. But it's intimidating, and then you find yourself you're having to defend yourself against something you didn't do. Misuse of the legal process. Filing divorce actions, dragging you into court, dropping them, filing them again, dropping them, filing other papers in the court. Using the court system not for legitimate purposes, but for purposes of intimidation and control. Another factor should be adultery, promiscuity. Another should be stealing a person's identity. Folks, do y'all know in today's time, technology, we can control everything from our phones. We can start our car, we can slam on brakes, we can turn up the heat, and we can turn down the cold. Our domestic violence statute is archaic. We got to get it up to times, up to today standards, taking into consideration all the things and ways that a person who wants to control and intimidate can use. I would refer to that as cyber or technology abuse. Medical abuse, making a person take medication that they're not prescribed, making them do other things, denying them access to medical care. Lots of different things that could happen there under medical abuse. Spiritual abuse. Spiritual abuse. The next one I'm saying church abuse, but it really should say position of authority abuse. If your loved one works for you or you work for them, they have a position of authority on you. Fire you like that. You don't like what I say to do? You don't do what I tell you to do? You just lost your job. And then whenever you go and do all this list of things that I want you to do, I might let you come back. That's also financial control. Phone calls to everybody to explain everything. Called your mama, called your sister, called your brother, called your daddy, called your lawyer. Called everybody. Explaining. And the last, of course, from my perspective, is physical abuse that doesn't leave marks. The shove against the wall, the hand around the throat to hold against the wall just long enough and tight enough where you can't move, but it won't leave a mark. Holding you down, won't let you up. Those are physical abuse that don't leave marks. The police come, they don't see marks. They can't do much. This will give them the tool that they need. It needs to be education about what coercive control is. Someone who's not lived in it or been a part of it sometimes has a difficulty wrapping their mind around what this is. Coercive control is basically like a psychological warfare. It will damage the very soul of a person. It will make them doubt and lose their self-confidence and especially their self-worth. And they'll give up. They'll give up on being happy. And they'll survive and trudge through day by day, or maybe they won't. What this family wants you to do is to help this. We want Mica's law. We want the coercive control bill to be looked at, taken seriously, put some time into it. And somebody make an amendment. You add your name as a sponsor and make an amendment to call it Mica's Law. What can you do? What can each of you do specifically? Sometimes we feel like we're not effective. We can't do certain things. Getting this law on the books will help. So, what we have done I'm just going to show you. These are purple folders or envelopes that have all been stuffed and addressed to every member in the House of Representatives that are on the Judiciary Committee. There's also one in there for every senator that's on the Judiciary Committee. So y'all look for your purple envelopes. Now, what the public can do here is hold your legislators accountable. What have they been doing? Take a look at it. Contact your legislators, both in the House and in the Senate. Let them know you're mad. Let them know you're on board. Let them know that you are their constituent, and if they want your vote next year, they better get this done. You can call them. Their numbers are published online. The website to go to is www.scstatehouse.gov. If you don't know who your senator is for your district, if you don't know who your house or who your representative is in the House, you can go on that website, put in your address, and it'll tell you who that person is. So I would encourage you to reach out to whoever is representing your district in both the Senate and the House. But don't forget those who are on the Judiciary Committee. So go there and you can look for the Judiciary Committee, both in the Senate and the House. You'll get the names of everybody there that's serving on that committee. They make it very easy. They have a place online there where you can submit an electronic message to them. You don't need to go and do all of this work. You can simply go online, fill out the form, submit it, and they'll have it. If you want to do a letter, but you just don't know what to say in it exactly, I have created a template form that is available for anybody who would like it. You can use it just like it is, or you can change it up, or you can use it as inspiration and write whatever you want. But please get those letters out there. You can also send them an email saying the same thing. Those email addresses are published on that scstatehouse.gov website. And then next, just put it on your calendar every now and then. They have a thing called tracking that bill. Track that bill. Thank you to everybody for being here and for your patience. I know everybody was looking forward to seeing the drama in the courthouse or in the courtroom. There was never going to be any drama in the courtroom. It is not a live testimony type of hearing. Nobody got on the stand. Nobody would be cross-examined, that kind of a thing. It's simply a packet of papers that would have been presented to the judge while we sat in silence, while she reviewed the information and made her decision. So we do appreciate you standing out here in the heat, too, and waiting for us. At this time...
The restraining orders that went out today, where were those for Mica? Because you represented her, so where were they?
No orders had been signed by any judge at this time, or at that time.
How come they didn't go out for Mica, though?
There was a request for restraining orders for Mica, but unfortunately Mica passed away before we got to court. But the request was there. So, as I said earlier, what we would like to do is keep the focus on the coercive control, i.e. Mica's law. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has with regard to that. We'd like to keep the focus there. If you have questions for the family about anything else, we would ask that that be done at a separate time. Yes, sir, in the back?
If anyone is going through any of these things this lady's talking about, please, please, please get help. Reach out to help. Reach out to me. I will help you get help. Do not live in this kind of environment. Do not allow yourself to be BUSED or any of this. Y'all, please reach for help. There is help out there. Your life matters.
Yes, that's a very good question. So, as it always is, there's two sides to every story, right? there's the side of the story that the position that the family takes that Mr. Miller is somehow responsible for her death, whether that's directly or indirectly. Obviously, it's been declared self-inflicted, so that is off the table. There is questions about whether this type of behavior would drive someone to take their own life. We do not know what was inside of Mica's head. Of course, her husband takes the position that she had a mental illness, that she didn't have her medication, and that the reason she did what she did was because of a mental illness, specifically bipolar. So to say that the judiciary failed her, because I don't know what really got her to that point, I have some suspicions, but I do know this. Based on all of the stuff that I have reviewed, the things in the journals that Mica left in my possession, tell me that a lot of these behaviors happened assuming that what she said was true, and I have no reason to believe it wasn't. If the law had been in place at the time, she could have reported these types of behaviors, and the police would have been able to look to that particular law, assuming that when it went to the governor for signature, that it would be in the same format or better or harsher or whatever. So I think that is a possibility, but to say for certainty is not possible. What I do know for certainty is that there are people who are being victims of manipulative and psychological abuse that's often overlooked, and this bill will help every one of those people, and that's husbands, wives, women, and husband or men as well. So it's not gender specific. This happens on both sides.
Regina, do you know if this kind of law is in other states, this kind of protection?
Yes, thank you very much for asking that. I actually meant to touch on that. When I mentioned about WBTW doing their special on this type of abuse back in 2020, I believe it was, interestingly enough, go look it up, South Carolina made headlines for being one of the 4 states that was considering coercive control. Of the 4 was South Carolina, Hawaii, Connecticut, and California. Guess who's got laws on their books? Probably 3 years old now. Hawaii, California, and Connecticut. South Carolina doesn't. What did we miss?
Attorney Ward, if Michael's law gets passed, would it apply retroactively?
I wouldn't say that it would. Of course, it's up to the legislature, but I'm pretty sure that would not be fair to anybody anywhere. Usually whenever a law is passed, or a bill is passed and signed into law, it usually comes with an effective date. So there would be some date that would be picked, and from that date forward, anything that violates that bill could be considered, part of, if that's a crime. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
I've got a court document here from Surfside Court, Magistrate Court. On March 26th, Mica Miller filed a restraining order, which was dismissed without prejudice. You represented her at the time. Can you comment on why that was dismissed? Would this law have changed that?
I think that's a little bit of a misnomer. This is another part of the problem, is whenever you are married and you're being harassed by your spouse, and you can't get into family court or whatever, most people think about, hey, when somebody's harassing me, we all know you get 3 events. You go to the magistrate court and ask them to issue a restraining order and tell this person to leave me alone, right? That works really well for your neighbor or your whoever that's bothering you, because you can show, hey, they texted me, I said, don't text me anymore, and right after that, they sent me this long diatribe, okay? So whenever people who are married go to the magistrate court seeking that type of restraining order, they can fill out the paperwork, but then the judge will most likely look at it and say, this sounds like a family court matter. Why? Because you're married. And so they feel that the jurisdiction really belongs to the family court. Now, there is a small exception to that. If you look in the law, it says that the magistrate court can issue those types of restraints like family court can whenever the family court is closed. So usually the judges like to stay in their lane. They don't want their orders overturned and that sort of a deal. So if it's a possibility to refer them to a family court when they're married, that's what they're going to do. She just went to the wrong place for that. And no, I wasn't representing her at the time, but I wish I would have been. Yes, ma'am.
So can you talk about the testosterone allegation?
I'm not going to talk about any of those things.
What portion of the law, of Mica's law, would apply to those allegations?
Okay, so as it's written, would probably be assault. Okay, the suggestion that I asked to be added would be medical abuse or that type of thing. It's also a form of battery whenever you administer somebody something against their will. Battery, actually, you know, people think of a battery as it leaves a bruise. If you do this to me and I don't like it, that's a battery. If I told you not to touch me and you did, that's a battery. You accidentally bumping into me going down the hall is not a battery. It's an intent. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. That reminds me of something else I should have told everyone, is we have set up the email address. It's called justiceformica tips, TIPS. That's, of course, it was set up for people to send in tips. But if you want to send us an email to that particular email address, and so we can get your contact information, and we'll be in touch with you, okay? Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am.
Is the law, is it equal the same thing as domestic violence? Like when the police show up and they say, okay, we can arrest right now because we have this law, or do you still have to get
Yeah, very good question. Thank you for that. Okay, so this law, if it goes into effect, will be considered a felony. The suggestion is that it carries up to 10 years in prison. With it being a felony, police can't really lock up on sight. If the police see you committing a crime in the front of their very eyes, of course they can arrest you for that. But whenever it's this many levels of elements and proofs that are required, what would happen at that point is the police officer would say, this seems like this might be coercive control, and then go to a magistrate who can issue a warrant if the magistrate determines there's probable cause. So if the magistrate compares the facts and things that are being relayed to him by the officer, then the magistrate would have the ability to issue that warrant and go from there. You've already been there. Okay. Yeah?
Just for clarification, S927 is the bill that you're supporting. You said it wasn't quite right, but you said it was a good start. That's the bill you want amended to be Mica's law. And do you want to see changes to it? Do you want to see a new bill? Do you want to see senators reaching out to you and kind of craft this legislation?
Thank you for that question. I had actually, in the letter that I'm sending to them, making some of my suggestions. I'm happy to read it to you if you want to hear it. But basically, the clear goal of the bill is to avoid any person from being psychologically and systematically abused. I had come up with 16 additional factors that I felt like were missing from the bill. I also believe that the bill needs to include mandatory ankle monitors for those who are arrested. Obviously, the person is, most likely following you around and doing things to intimidating, riding by where you are so that you see them. So I think an ankle monitor would be a good part of a condition of a bond for someone who's been arrested for that charge. I believe that it would be prudent to require that a portion of those fines and those fees and those ankle monitor costs and anything else associated with should be allocated to a domestic violence fund. We used to have CASA here, Citizens Against Spousal Abuse, and the funding sort of dried up. So it's always a question of how do we pay for these things. So I think that a percentage of the fines and the costs and things associated with that type of charge should be allocated to a domestic violence fund. I think the funds should be collected and paid to use as salaries to hire at least one attorney in every county of the state of South Carolina to offer free legal representation to victims of domestic violence. Coercive control is actually a part of the domestic violence statute that we have. I mean, it will be a part of it. So it's not a separate thing. It's actually requesting an amendment to the South Carolina domestic violence laws. In other words, adding another section to the title. The additional thing that I asked for in there is, well, I already said basically, is to try to get some representation because people are confused by the legal system. And so it would be really nice if they could count on legal representation whenever they don't have any money, they've been cut off financially, they've been cut off, transportation, etc. So those are some of the things. I also think that they should look at things like wrapping up first offense, second offense, third offense, those types of things, and making it an enhanceable crime. Okay, just a couple more. We're all baking out here, so thank you.
About how the criminal justice system has ruled exempt suicide. The family intend to use the civil court system to hold, or to attempt to hold Pastor James civilly liable for his death.
As I've stated many times, we're collecting information to determine whether that will happen. I have been retained for that specifically, but right now we're just in a research and investigative phase.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
And I just want to say that there are so many people in the community that try to help victims. I'm one of them. I pay for
Wonderful.
just so that they just don't forget how those really leaders that do.
Absolutely. And this coercive control bill is just an extension of the existing domestic violence that covers the physical abuse as well. And so it would just be another extension or leg of it. Yes, ma'am.
What is going to hold the police accountable, even if, because obviously this law is taking time? How can we make them aware? How can we, I mean, we're doing it now.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be held accountable too, to be more
Responsive.
perceptive,
Yeah.
of what's going on. And, sometimes if somebody has a lot of money in the community or a lot of time, they will take sides. So,
Yeah. Thank you for the comment that the abuses, victims are, all, it's somewhat rampant. So it's not just about Mica. So no one's being forgotten. It's all about victims. We're just asking for it to be called Mica's Law because so many people have paid attention to this situation. All eyes are on it and people are paying attention. And we really want people to become educated. We want our police to be educated. They're not trained in it because it doesn't exist in law. They're trained to look for the things they know in law that are a crime, okay? So when we say hold the police accountable, as I've stated before, when they arrive on the scene and, a spouse is saying, she took my wallet and won't give it back and has my keys and won't let me leave the house, then the officer is going to diffuse the situation, okay? And it's a domestic situation. People get in fights, and fuss. I mean, it's part of being married too. It doesn't mean it's all abusive, but sometimes it gets, to a place where someone calls the police because they want something to happen. And so the police will look at it and say, well, I don't see any bruises on you, sir. I don't see anything like that. Did she hurt you? That sort of thing. So if it's not a physical abuse thing or a physical manifestation of the abuse, the police just don't have anything to look to. So would this bill be made into law? Of course, I would imagine that there would be some form of training because it would be a new law that they would have to be familiar with and learn how to identify the elements that are associated with it. I think you had a question.
Yeah, when a marriage occurs, obviously the spouses get a lot of protection. You sort of alluded to how they would say something like, oh, it's a domestic matter. How exactly does the law change how a married couple is, how complaints within a married couple are handled? Other than, obviously it's new protection, but does it change regarding marriage?
Right. So I don't think anybody should be afraid that if I call the police saying, that this particular thing is happening when it's really may not rise to the level of a crime, she's yelling at me, he's yelling at me, won't leave me alone, kind of a thing, whatever is going on. With this bill, what happens, as I said before, the police cannot do anything about it. What they do is they will look at the totality of the circumstances, okay? It's going to require that there be different things. I think if you saw me say, when the police show up at your house 15 times, something's going on, okay? But the police don't have anything to look to say, what does it mean when you go to the house 15 times, okay? That would be an element to prove coercive control. That would be one of them. So, and the law needs to figure out what the combination is or how many things. I think there's a suggestion of 2 behaviors. I don't know what it'll end up being. Maybe that's too many, maybe that's too few. I don't know. Okay, so it is super hot and
Regarding protesting on the protest last Sunday, is that helpful, not helpful? Could you guide us there with what the family's wishes are as far as moving forward with things such as that?
yeah, thank you very much. I haven't spoken to the family specifically about that, but I think I have an idea of what they would say. They want your support here. You don't need to be running around Mr. Miller's house and his back door and across the church, okay? We've already got the message out, and Mica's life is going to matter, regardless of whatever the reason was of what happened to her. Her life is going to leave a legacy, and her life is going to help people. That's where we need to focus now. We need to focus on that, because the other things that happened or may happen, we can't undo those. We can't undo those things that allegedly happened to Mica. But what we can do is going forward and being supportive that hopefully there won't be any other victims that got to this level. That's where we need to focus now.
Is it true that the FBI is investigating the death or they're not? Because there's a lot of speculation and rumors going around that the FBI is investigating her death versus just other situations that are going on.
Yeah, we're getting away from coercive control, Bill, with that question.
Can you say the email one more time where people can reach out?
Justice for Mica, tips, TIPS,
So,
at gmail.com. I apologize.
so current state law states that if you want to get someone convicted for stalking and harassment at least, you have to show 2 or more patterns of that within a 90-day period. It sounds like Mica, she made multiple police reports. I spoke to Jimmy Richardson, the 15th Circuit solicitor. He said that stalking and harassment here in South Carolina, that's pretty easy to prove. So, in your perspective, why weren't any arrests made?
Well, I can't speak to that. I'm not the authority that was there to, police officers make judgment calls on when to arrest someone. If they're not sure or if they see, different types of behavior that require an issuance of a warrant, or they've learned of different types of behavior that may issue a warrant, then that's what the police, that's what's available to them to do. Okay, thank you so much to everyone. We do appreciate your support. We appreciate you standing out here in the hot and bearing with us. This is an important thing. You want to make a difference in this world. You want to make a difference for your neighbor, your loved ones, whoever's sitting on the pew next to you in church or wherever you are. A lot of people suffer in silence over this, and this, if it gets passed, should be an empowering moment for those who are a victim of it. Thank you.
Justice for Mica! Guilty!
So today my heart's a little heavy. I've had a lot of women that have reached out to me about situations of abuse. And I just want to tell you what a lot of people have told me lately and reminded me, because I think I forgot. I knew, but I pushed it in the back of my head just because of my situation. But you are the bride of Christ. Before anybody else's bride, male or female, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what gender you are. Abuse is abuse. And you are the bride of Christ. And my Bible says that he took all the abuse you could think of for you so that you didn't have to live that life of slavery and bondage and pain. Jesus took it all for you. So you don't have to stay in a abusive relationship, whether that's sexual, whether that's somebody forcing you to take illegal drugs, or alcohol abuse, or physical abuse, psychological abuse, making you think that this is all your fault, or you're a bad mom, or you're a bad wife, or you're a bad husband, or you're not giving it your all when you know you are. God hates divorce, but why? According to everybody I've asked and the scriptures that I've found, it's because it hurts people. But does abuse hurt people? How do you think God feels about that? So I want to remind you, like a bunch of people have been reminding me lately, that I'm God's bride first. And even an earthly spouse who's a good spouse, when they know that their bride is being hurt, just imagine what an earthly spouse does. What do you think your heavenly spouse does when you're the bride of Christ and he sees his bride going through abuse and hurt? What do you think he thinks about that? So, encouragement in all this is you are the bride of Christ first before anybody else's. And he's got you. And he sees you. And he loves you.
Okay, YouTube, just so you know, this fair use commentary for educational purposes only, and a warning content to everybody. Yeah, this is Dale, our investigator.
Good morning, everyone.
He
Reporting
has a
from
lot of
Myrtle Beach, South
coverage on
Carolina.
this
I am out
topic,
front of
so y'all check
Solid
it
Rock
out. The link is
Church.
in the
We're
description.
covering the Mica Miller case. Yesterday, I said, hey, I'm going to come up here. I was just doing a live stream earlier, but it's having technical difficulties. There's supposed to be a large group here. They're going to go for a walk. We're going to talk about the case of Mica Miller and John Paul Miller, the suspicious death of Mica Miller. A lot of people here, and I talked to the organizer who said she'll talk to me in a little bit. A lot of people think this is a mysterious circumstance, and they think it's fishy, and they think that John Paul, her husband, might have had something to do with it, or has his hands dirty when it comes to this case. I'm going to spin the camera around, show you what's going on. Looks like it's very, very peaceful today. It looks like it's regulated today. Law enforcement is here very, very shortly. Let's go back over here, and later on I'm going to go up to the park where I'm going to go up to the park later on where Mica was found, apparently from a gunshot wound. So we're gonna get some details here. JLR live this evening. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Come on in, everyone. Come on in. I'm gonna monitor a walk and a march for Mica. So yeah. Good morning. How's it going? How's it going?
Good. I'm gonna try to grab the organizer.
Yeah, I spoke to her briefly over there. Yeah, have her come over and.
I'm gonna just pull the banner.
Yeah, you want me to show the banner?
I asked about the permit sizing on the signs, and they said that there wasn't going to be a permit prior to May 15th, but they went ahead and got a permit, so I think we're limited on the signage. And
Oh, really? They're that petty in a sense.
Well, you know, I mean, otherwise people would get.
You need a permit for a certain size sign?
Oh no, for a gathering like such, they just limit the signage.
Gotcha.
To a certain size. They don't want 50-foot banners going across the road.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, you know, it's not for any bad purpose. But I'm going to try to grab her and we'll hold up that banner.
Oh yeah, would love to show it.
Get the website. I mean, the colors and everything match, and they're two completely different.
Did she make the shirts too?
Somebody donated the shirt.
Gotcha.
And so they're just doing that for donation, and I did the URL and website for them. I got all that done in one day. That was amazing.
Gotcha. I see the back. It says "Break the Silence" and "Domestic Violence." It's the back of the shirt say.
So I'm gonna try to.
This is a clip from CJ's crime content.
Good morning. Steph's Case Files over on TikTok. Go follow her. We're going to take a walk up there in a second. I don't see any Spideys today. Good morning, Rosie. Hello?
Hello. Hi.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, CJ.
Here's my info. Yeah, let's, do you do, like, mornings or nights, or? Yeah? Yeah, let's get together on my show sometime. I'll have you on. I'm going to be back home throughout the week, then I'm going to come back here Friday. But I'm going to be doing shows at night too, so if you want to let me know whatever night would be cool, and we'll have you come on. Yeah, no problem. Excuse me real quick. And looks like Trish is out there. We're gonna cross the street here. Sorry, I can't see Chad out here. It's so bright. I wish StreamYard would do a dark mode, because you really can't see nothing. I apologize.
Everybody's saying hi so long.
I'm telling you guys, I'm going to show you guys here in a second. The attendance has drastically dropped off.
I wonder why.
Because people are waking up. Yeah. I'll show you guys. This is crazy. It's like a third of a third. I don't even know if it's a third, honestly. How many people do you think showed up today? 20? If that? If that? Yeah, there's. Holy. Wow, I'm surprised because even last week the parking lot was kind of full, you know? Yeah, last week they had some of Randall's people come because they called in a report for protesters disrupting the service, right? I was over there last week most of the time. So what they did is they brought cops in to show that it was being a disturbance. The cops were like, the decibel level doesn't meet the thing, right? So they had people coming out the back door, walking down this way, looking at us all crazy, going in the front door. And then what they did is they left the front door cracked open that much because that black vehicle right there was playing Mica singing. And we were all, out here. They wanted to raise the level of the protesters, to get us out of here. So they left the front door cracked last week, trying to get it, and it didn't work. Yeah, they were actually, because I've been here for a little over a month, and these people last week, they were like people I've never seen here before, and they were like looking at you like, just walking by, going like this, getting like this close to it. Yeah. But the cops have been totally cool. Yeah.
Actually, on vacation from Virginia.
Oh yeah.
I've obviously been following this, but I didn't realize it's like 5 minutes away.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna show you guys the parking lot real quick here. More people showing up. People showing up. I guess we're here a little early. They like to change it up a little bit. They like to change up the times of the services and all that stuff. So you got Ellie sitting right there. They've always been great, gracious, respectful. And if anything, they would just come up to tell us to do something out of our own safety if we needed to move out of the way or anything like that.
That's good of them.
So that parking lot. They said maybe 20. Where's the bullhorns? I wish I could zoom in for you guys on here, but
Yeah, I can see though, because even chat also noticed how empty the lot is.
yeah. We even have people over here. Steph's Case Files on TikTok. She actually came across, she's been shouting us out here for a few weeks. Oh, we got megaphone. Oh, damn, we got megaphones. Geez. Oh, there's somebody bringing, holy crap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Somebody brought 6 megaphones, yo. Whoa, hold on a minute. Let's get a photo of this. I'm gonna make a community post for you guys. That lady's so awesome. She does such a great job.
Her photos are amazing.
See, there is.
Tiffany's asking if JP is there yet.
Not that I see. I'll take a walk here in a second. Usually he's been skeeting in at the last minute.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. One moment here. I'm gonna post that picture so you guys can see it. See. How many bolts? What did I say? 6?
Yeah, you said 6.
There we go. There's the post if you guys want to see it. All right, now we're gonna take a little walk here. Oh, here's the bullhorn. Wow, they even have like walkie-talkies attached to them. Are you serious? Wow. All right, let's go take a look. See if he's here. What's beeping? Here's one of the bullhorns right here. Nice. Yeah. They got like little walkie-talkies on them and everything.
That is cool.
Yes. All right, let's take a look here. So it looks like somebody's posted up. So here's a new sign, it looks like.